Right. And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to How to Master Your Mindset in 2026, in particular, how to overcome adversity with Napoleon Hill secrets. Today, I have the amazing and phenomenal, my mentor, one of the greatest to ever do it, Mr. Don Green, the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, here today to share some insight with you on how to overcome adversity.
Oh, Chrissy, you're very kind. If I can say something another that would help someone, I would appreciate it. I get some negative calls. I got one yesterday, and he was complaining about things, and I said, "What have you done about it?" Huh? I said, "What have you done about it?" Huh? I said, "Anybody can complain." I said, "It's not just reading the material. It's reading it and saying, where does this apply to me? Where can I use it? And doing something about it." I said, in other words, get up off your butt. But people that you covered some good subjects that or people that are bored or whatever, they don't have what you want to talk about, a burning desire. I did a fundraising with Zig Ziglar at a Christian college. No, he was funny. If you've ever run him, he's funny. He said, everything in life comes down to how bad do you want it? You know, people think they want something other, but it's not really a want. They'll think if it comes along, but they don't have that burning desire that he'll talk. When a burning desire means every what you're working on, when you go to bed at night, you're just thinking about it. You wake up the next morning, you're thinking about it and say, what can I do to make that come about? You just don't sit there and do nothing and keep wanting. There's a lot of people want a whole lot of things. They want a lot of money. They want a book. I mean, I had a guy tell me one day he'd been thinking about writing this book for 20 years. I said, you could have sold a lot of books during 20 years. I mean, you know, I said, I can help you a little bit if you truly want to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make a plan for it. You said, well, a decent sized book like this one, probably 40,000 words or whatever. And I said, you can determine how many words you're going to write a week. 40,000 words, you write 1,000 words a week. In 40 weeks, you got a book. But you can't be talking about it, and 3 months later, I still not wrote the first one. Yeah. You got to, this is what I'm going to do, and you have to stick to it. And if you miss a day, you back up and make up, and you make up for it. And it's just that simple. But people don't do it. They rather talk about than to do it. And I've got a little card on my desk in there. It says, someday, there's 7 days a week. Some days, not one of them. Someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to take Christy's program. Someday I'm going to participate in her program. Someday. It's not no someday. It's not on the calendar. That's a lying to yourself when you says I'm going to lose this weight, or I'm going to pay off that credit card, or I'm going to enroll in a course. That ain't nothing but flat lying to yourself. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. If you say it and you're not doing it, you're lying to yourself. And that's there's a book I used when I was teaching this. I taught this stuff 12 years, and it's a guy by the name of Ham Settler. It says, what do you say when you talk to yourself? Most important conversation you ever had in your life is those you have with yourself. Now, you can get up one morning and go out and your girlfriend say, Christy, you're not dressed right. And you can take it, or you can look at it in the mirror and think, my God, I think I look good. I said, where'd she get her clothes from? I think I look good. People compliment me. But when we start telling ourselves is, I can't write that book, or I can't dress right, or I can't get this interview, whatever, then we tend to believe what we say to ourselves, especially if we're repeating. And that's how we learn, by auto-suggestion. You remember the ABCs? Over and over and over. You said them so many times, you can recall them. It becomes a part of your subconscious. Now, you may have been smarter than me. It's like multiplication table. Somebody says, Christy, 8 times 8, 64. It may have been in the 6th grade since you said that, but you repeated them things so many times till they become a part of your subconscious. And most of the time, we can recall them. But the only problem is the auto-suggestion. It also works the other way. If we feed ourselves negative things, I can't do that. She ain't going to talk to me. and she's not going to do this, or then we tend to believe what we say to ourselves, especially if we think every day, I can't write a book, or I can't get in that program, whatever. We tend to believe it, and we come with that term that you like to use, like drifting, and that explains most of the people in work. Drifters don't accomplish anything. They have no set goals. They don't have a burning desire to accomplish anything. They're living, but they're not alive.
So you said you broke down, I think I counted at least 4 principles, but I want to back up a little bit to the first part of burning desire. And so, what's interesting about burning desire, people who set their goals, we have these burning desires to achieve them. And I remember in 2016, after I burned my life down and burned my mindset down to 2 atoms and lost everything, and I discovered Napoleon Hill in 2012. I was with a network marketing company, and I thought my boss was the devil. So when I got the book Outwitting the Devil, I thought my boss was the devil. So I was trying to outwit him, and it became one of my favorite books, in addition to Think and Grow Rich. So, but I thought about it, Mr. Green. I said, you know what? Because I became obsessed with Napoleon Hill, because he talks about winning, and he talks about how to become successful. And what I think is that if a lot of people who have these goals and we're pursuing these things, we're typically the odd man out in organizations, because it's a lot more followers than it is leaders. And if leaders have like the principles that he talks about, if they can go rich, when I started to read it, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's what made me stand out. But it's also what made people not necessarily like me. And if I understood I was in the arena of what successful people think, I would have had a little bit more ease as I navigated it. And so I said, if Napoleon Hill was alive today, I would find a way to be in his living room. So then I became obsessed. And then I met Sharon Lecter, and then I met you. And I think, and I was in Sharon's living room, and that became like the closest manifestation of I would find a way to be in Napoleon Hill's living room. So I think a lot of people, when we talk about burning desire, I want you to unpack it a little bit, because adversity typically creates room for a burning desire. Either you're going to have a burning desire to get out of it, or you're just going to, fail and just stay there and blame other people. But when you have like the white hot burning desire to achieve something, can you unpack that for people who, are drifting in the winds, or they're being tossed to and from? When you have this goal and you say, I'm going to achieve it no matter what, then that becomes like the burning desire. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So many people, they can confuse. They think failure defines them. You're not failure. Failure is simply, if you take it right, it's a lesson learned. I mean, if you put your hand on a hot stove, say, I'm not going to do that no more. You learn something other from it. And that's what Hill talks about. People, they equate failure as being them personally. It's not, it's just a lesson. It's something another. One of his greatest statements, I think he said, from every adversity comes up a equal or greater benefit. And so, and you sit and think, you can think little things. And I love those. A lot of them are young ladies. I mean, like a lady, a lot like a Post-it note, Debbie Fields' cookies. Somebody takes some little bitty thing and they make it, and they turn it into something other, because they see something other in it. It's a W. Clement Stone. He'd say, "We got a problem. That's good." He said, "When you solve problems, you make money. If people don't have no problems, they don't need you. People you got to sell something. You got to sell your services or a product. That's the only way you're going to make any money legally. And if someone's got a problem, if you can find a way to solve it, then you've got a good opportunity to make money. And that's what you should continuously look for, is something another that people is confronting that you can help them with, whether it be educational in nature or a product, and that's important to say, what can I do with this? What can I do with this? Golly, I started in 2000. They had 16 books, and there was no PDF files, and there was no internet. And I'd hired little girls from my college here to type them up, which is a slow process because they type them, then they had to edit them, and have to type again, and then we had to send the stuff out. And whereas now we get a PDF file, we just push a button, it goes to 150 or 200, who we want it to go to. It can go to every publisher in every foreign country out there, no matter moment. So if we take advantage of those things that come along, there's a book by a guy that worked for Reagan. I read a long time ago. He taught at New York University. Paul, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but it's like the drug Pfizer. And he said, we saw more progress in our lifetime than's occurred in all of past history. And he said, we'll see more progress in the next 10 years than we've seen in our lifetime. So things happen so fast, I mean, medically, I got a lot of friends in the medical field. People used to die from an infected gallbladder. They can just about take it out through the drive-in window now. I mean, a few minutes and they can rip you open and take it out and throw it away because there's no benefit, but all of those things. I had dinner a couple of times with Art Linkletter in California back when I was starting. And I looked it up when I come back. He was born, I think it was 1900. Anyway, the average life expectancy of a man was 45 years old in the United States. But we've had such things as clean water, penicillin, and all these other things. And of course, it's getting up close to 80 now, would be in the 80s, except for these idiots that overdose on drugs and you get self-sabotage and what have you. So we've made that much progress in that length of time by someone saying, what can we do about this, and studied it and coming up with an answer. And I think we'll continue to do that as long as people have a strong desire to make improvements. I mean, just like right now, I think the world shouldn't be going hungry. If we was doing the agriculture and all the extent they do in the United States and whatever, there will be no such thing as hunger in the world. It's improved dramatically, but there's a lot of places, even in the United States, people go to bed hungry. I have a little niece who's been married several times to help her get through college. And I found out she got one of the little kids would come to school in the morning, and especially on the Mondays. And one day he's crying. She asked, what's wrong? She said, I've not had nothing to eat since Friday, which was the last day of school. Through the weekend, he had nothing to eat. I said, we take care of that. Yeah. But we don't realize that things like that still occur. And it's just, I would say we could use the 3 Ps. I guess we won't get cut off there, but it's PPP. It's piss poor planning. Nobody's doing anything about it. They just sit there, accept them. Say, well, that's just the way it is. One lady told me, said, we'd always have poverty. I said, there's one dang thing about it. We don't have to be one of them. I said, you can't even help poor people except make sure you're not one of them. You can't help nobody if you can't take care of yourself. That's just like desire for people or liking people. Mm-hmm. You can't like people that you're acquainted with if you don't like yourself. That's where it all begins. Everything on the outside is simply a reflection of what we are on the inside. Moody, grumpy, stingy, giving, or whatever. It originates from the inside, and it's shown, it's reflected on the outside.
That's so good. So let's talk about, Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, desire is the starting point of all achievement. And so when I think about, we're looking at things that are going on in the world, which have been going on for hundreds of years. Like, are there any new challenges that are going on? I think that the challenges may look different, but the ability to be able to overcome those challenges are still there. But he talks about desire. And so, people think that their jobs are their providers when, God is your provider. But desire is like, how can you be better? What can you do different? What world challenge can you solve? And I think that goes along with passion and then drifting. So what do, passion and drifting and desire have to do? How are they working with each other and how are they working against each other?
Well, it's real easy to become a drifter. Maybe you fail at something or other, you learn a lesson instead of you using less of what, you know, I've just completed a book on, from Mr. Hill, the 10 years they worked together. But Stone wrote a piece on about books, and I'll convert it into a book, my next project. It's how to read, study, and apply a self-help book. For example, the example, you can be told that you want a chocolate cake, and you can give a list to your maid or someone you're doing work at vanilla flavor and flour, chocolate, everyone's all the ingredients are. And they can go to the store and they can bring it in, and they can set it down on the table until Christy mixes that stuff and heats the oven and puts it in there. Nobody's going to enjoy that chocolate cake. What's been furnished to you and what you can obtain. I said, we'll use other people for two different words, for affluence, from what you know, and also for money influence, the two of them together. But we got to take it and do something other with it. You know, the people are going to come home from work, and that cake's not going to be sitting on the table unless somebody took the ingredients, and it might not turn out too good the first time. I remember when my wife was learning to cook, you get the oven too hot or don't get hot enough, the thing will get up part of the way and then it'll fall. But you don't quit. You know, say, well, I had the oven too hot or I didn't have it hot enough, whatever. But you got to take it and experiment. And if your results are not what you keep on trying. I mean, you remember Edison and his light bulb. Because something don't work the first time, it doesn't mean it won't work. It just means you didn't use the right approach to it, and you keep on trying. Then again, is how bad do you want it? Can you imagine today we didn't have electric lights? I mean, when Edison did the electric lights, there were stories out there. The world was going dark because the lights that people got was from lamps burning whale oil. The whales were becoming extinct. They were killing them just to get that oil to burn in their lamps. And then, of course, we had two things happen. We had discovery of oil, and then we had discovery of electricity. And only the best of people could have a bunch of lamps in their house burning whale oil. Some people may have one, some may have none that have a fireplace, or boy, it got dark, they went to bed. But things can change real quickly, and the mass of the people can take an enjoyment of what the fuse out there is producing. And there's not anything out there that it's a problem that somebody's not looking at and saying, no, wonder what we did this, we did that, or whatever, and ask questions and try experiments and so forth. I mean, about anything you can think of. I mean, I was thinking about the car. I can remember having a 36 Ford, and when I was in high school, I'm proud of that thing. And the tires wore out in no time. Seemed like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 miles. And now you can get the best grade of tires now. You can get 50,000, 60,000 miles on. There's that much improvement on the things. And like it's nothing for a car today to run 200,000, 300,000 miles on it without having to have any major work done on it. So there's so many things that we get better that makes life better, because some people are out there trying to make improvements in life and not accepting the status quo. I remember reading J.P. Morgan one time, and it was complaining about people wanting money or something. And he asked him, Mr. Morgan, how much money does them people want to make anyway? He said, more than they're making. And I think that's human nature. That's what drives us. Mr. Stone, I learned a lesson from him one day at lunch, and he said he had always had a little bit of internal dissatisfaction. No matter how good a month or a year Christy's had, she knows I can do a little bit better next year. Because you've got the desire, plus you've also got the knowledge that you've acquired through the experiments that worked and that didn't work. So we should get a little bit better. No point in getting up for morning if we don't think we can do a little bit better. We just lay in bed. But I think that's what drives us. I mean, you know what it is, me. I got to be crazy. I'm 85 years old. You know, I should be on the beach or a rocking chair or somewhere or another. I guess I don't know.
No, you should be right where you are, continuing to produce books so I can read them.
I will probably fall over with a book or a pencil in my hand. But heck, uh, you can die. You can die 1,000 times, or you can die once. And so I'm gonna try to make it once.
I was saying, I agree. I love it. So Napoleon Hill talks about indecision and procrastination are the two leading causes of failure. Let's talk about, indecision and procrastination, because I think about in 2020 when the I would say the new crisis is the new crisis of the pandemic. It's just something that affected everybody all at the same time. So it became something that was new. And I was saying in 2020, we're going to see the people who choose to like change, because now your life isn't what you want it to be, because 2020 was the year of the pause where you had to reflect on, oh my God, I can't believe I created this life for myself. So I was talking about how we're going to see the people who chose to use this time to change and the people who put their head in the dirt and then they didn't do anything. And so they're waiting for the years to get better, but the years have gotten more complex. I'm not going to say more challenging or harder, but they've become more complex. And so here we are, 5-6 years later, and people are still putting off until the next election or whatever to change. What advice do you have for people on procrastination and indecision?
Well, I can remember, Christian, when COVID come out, I had a trustee said, "Oh, this will kill the book business." Oh, I said, no. I'm telling them people, you've got an opportunity to spend more time with your family. You got time to read. You got time at home, which is good. Family shouldn't be closer and all. I mean, they shouldn't be four in the family and all four of them on a cell phone. They don't even have conversations. I said, we'll push the fact is they can read those books. They can read to the children, start children's books and all, and read in the home. And our business never suffered at all. We did tremendously well. But I know that you wasn't going to be having the seminars. You can do them live. Well, like we converted our courses to the internet, and we teach a slew of. We got a couple of hundred a year of high school kids take our course by internet. Never come to the college. They get 3 hours credit, and we paying for it and furnish them their book and their workbook. But you just have to see it as an opportunity to do things different. I can remember when we first discussed it. I've been on the board for 25 odd years to college. And all in all, professors were against online courses when they come out. They felt threatened, okay? And it may be better for a kid to be in a classroom session. But I said, what you don't realize, that kid is 2 or 3 hours away. They can't drive once a week at far transportation. And plus, other colleges are offering it. And if you don't, they got an opportunity to take it at another university. So you either have to be competitive. I said, you think you're on the right road, but if you don't keep moving, somebody's gonna run over your butt. You got to keep moving. You got to see things out there, and you got to keep doing. And it's work wonderful. It's work wonderful. In fact, Hill proposed it one time. And I don't have one grandson, only grandchild. But I know now my sister's grandkids and all, and I've helped several of them. The kids can now get a BS degree in 3 years they can start in high school, sophomore, junior. They can practically have a first year when they start through online courses. In 3 years, what happens is they get into the workforce quicker or go on to graduate school. Also, they got 1 year less of student debts. It's wonderful. Just with a little bit of extra effort and new technology, which is online courses, they can finish in 3 years. It's just always accepted. It takes you 4 years to get a BS degree. It don't take 4 years to get a BS degree if you really want to do something about it. You're working a year earlier or going off to graduate school. Plus, you got 1 year less in student loans. So you have to take advantage of the things that come along, and take advantage of them if you want to be a better person and be worth more in the workplace.
Okay, so Mastermind is in my top 5 books. This is like, I can't, Think and Grow Rich is foundational, which I love. That's my number 2 book. Number 1 is the Bible. Outwitting the Devil is Number 3, it's so good. You know, I recommend it. I talk about Outwitting the Devil. I'm obsessed with it. Like, I recommend Outwitting the Devil at least 9,000 people. But Mastermind was so good. I think it's number 4 or number 5. Because Napoleon Hill failed so many times. I mean, and I was telling somebody about it a couple weeks ago. The way he failed nonstop, but he never quit. Right, like he had spectacular failures and failures that would have taken most people out of the game, who would have just quit, given up, and just, I don't know, got a job or just laid on the bottom or killed themselves. Like the ways that he failed, and I mean, these are like 30 times that he failed. What is your advice for people who have these, almost knock you down to the ground failure? Napoleon Hill this is why I love this book. So if y'all are going through something, y'all got to get Mastermind. He kept failing, he kept getting up, like he wouldn't quit. So that's my favorite book. Go ahead.
The Mastermind, somebody may prove me otherwise, but that's a term that belongs to Napoleon Hill, because I know that I taught the course up there 11 times, I guess. And one of the little girls was a scholar. She told me one day, she lived when I was, in fact, I'm going in Monday. They hit me up every semester to go in and teach one class. So it's Monday, teaching the class here at the college. And she said, I'll give an example. I never thought so much about it, but she said, the professors don't give examples of where like the Mastermind, where it works. And I said, well, why don't you ask them? She said, well, most of them never done nothing. And so, I mean, I would tell them, for example, when I was in banking, the president of the bank, I don't mean to boast or anything, but I had 35 suits. I never was in the bank without a suit and tie, and not casual, but a tailored suit. So when that little lady comes in the bank, she can look and see who the president of the bank was. So I thought it's important because I was dressing for the other people. But I was never satisfied with getting my clothes done. I was taking them more than an hour away. So finally one day I was on the golf course, and I told my buddies, I said, man, you guys don't use suits like I do. But I said, I hate the dry cleaning business. I said, they smell, the place looks nasty looking. And I said, I'd like to have one. And they said, well, we got some of the land we got. I said, well, up at the red light would be a great place. But I know about building. So I ordered a kit, $39.95 off of Inc. magazine, how to run a successful dry cleaning operation. I have trouble folding a shirt even today. But anyway, I ordered that thing and I set it, and I got hold of the company, found out what size of building I had to have. And one of my partners that we mastermind with, and we own a lot of stuff together. We do all kinds of business, from cable TV to spring water to the nursing home, you name it. We've done it about it. And he said, told him what I need. He said, this is about size of building. He said, get me a copy of the plat or land, and said, and I'll draw you one. Yeah. And he built an equipment company. They sent people in and trained our people, but it worked well. I didn't know how to do a building, and I didn't know how to clean clothes, but so much of it was come natural. And I would only today, I think we had it 17, 18. It's getting up close to 20 years. Walmart come by one day and they acquired the land behind us and some others, and they wanted we was at the entrance at a red light. And I told them, yeah, $2 million. Oh man, that land ain't worth that. I said, I realize it's just an acre and a half, but we got a business on it. And they bought it. And we moved it to another location, and then which I sold it when I started the foundation because I had too much stuff to do. But I used them other guys that was involved in it, and used their expertise, and they've been the same way with the other. I'm not a builder. I can't drive a nail, but there's other people that in the same way with the spring water business we did, which was a 20-some year business, and Dollar General stores, pizza places, and all like that. I don't know about building or anything, but it was great working with other people, and Hill did it well. It's two or more minds coming together in perfect harmony. working on a common. It's not a bunch of us sitting around drinking beer, bragging about what all we're going to do and so forth. It's working for a common purpose in a spirit of harmony. Of course, everyone expecting something from it, whether it be wages or recognition or whatever, what motivates people. But it's a great way to lessen the expenses. I said, even 50% of something or other is better than all of nothing. And it's a tremendous concept, but even going through the thing, if you only go through it and do the selection process, for example, you don't select people because you like them or because they're family or friend. You select people who can contribute, either their mind or their body, that will help you out, not just someone you want to hang around with. So that's extremely important. You know, Napoleon gave that when he of Carnegie, when Carnegie founded U.S. Steel and become, I think, the richest man in the world at the time. Didn't know a sixth grade education, knew nothing about steel making, but he hired all these people. He tried to get the best accountants and so forth. And the chemist he hired was a guy from France. And the guy from France couldn't get along with nobody. He couldn't get along with the other workers. So what does he do? He gets rid of the chemist. He can't get rid of everybody else out, and he replaces him. So he kept the thing going. But and you might say for 10 years he worked, and that's what I'm writing on. I'm finishing up. He worked with Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone had the political connections. There would be no Napoleon Hill Foundation without no W. Clement Stone. Back when he was struggling, he gave them $500,000 to publish the first books and whatever, and work with him. And he had a lot of political influence and a lot of and his story was tremendous. But because I know he made one remark when he met Hill in '52 at the dental convention where Hill spoke. He said, "Boy, did I ever hit the jackpot," because he was already using Napoleon Hill material when Think and Grow Rich came out in '37. But they worked together for 10 years. Actually, Hill was in semi-retirement. But it's an interesting story. They accomplished so much more than if they had been kept going just like they was going. But seemed like most people are reluctant. If you don't know something, ask someone, whether it's legal advice, financial advice, or whatever, and you find out you can come. It's in work is you never worry about what gets done as long as you give someone else a credit for it. I mean, I praise my employees at high end, and I take care of them. I never had but one employee in God knows I was in finance 45 years, and I've been in this 26. I've only had one employee ever leave me. And it was a sad story. In fact, I had nothing to do with it. She lost a kid in an accident, 12 years old, and riding with them bikes through what you call them. A daughter overdose, a beauty queen. She did not live. Later, her husband committed suicide. She had so many problems. She just come in one morning and said, "I can't work." She said, "I'm messing up everything," and I felt sorry for her. But that's the only employee that I ran up and left. Now here at the college, I've employed the girls. Zane, who's been with me, I hired him in the 8th grade because he knew computers. His mother taught computers. Dad worked in the coal mines, and his sister worked with me for 6 years. Not for me. Nobody worked for me. They worked with me, and she's a pharmacist today. In fact, I got her a job. She's been practicing pharmacist, and then Zane's he's been here 14 years. He finished college in 3 years, and then he got working. He got his master's degree, and he's just remarkable. I wish I was organized as good as he was, but anyway, I've always looked out for people. And in fact, this was board meetings. I said, I want you to take, and I did in the banking bit. I want you to take care of them people. How about you? I know y'all going to take care of me. Look at the income statement. I said, I can go to work any place in town. I said, I believe you, and said, y'all take care of me, and I'm not going to ask for no amount. And there, what you give me, I'm not going to say a word. But they paid me well. They paid me well.
What's your thoughts on, as I look at LinkedIn and leadership. I love military people. I would say military officers. We love being leaders. Like, I love being a leader. And I look at some of the posts from people on LinkedIn, and I can tell they've never been leaders based on some of the advice that they have. And I think about, if people are like super popular with their people, then they may not be making the hard decisions. And I guess maybe it depends on where you work, but leadership isn't that flowery. What advice do you have for leaders who are trying to navigate these challenging times while trying to help their people navigate the challenging times?
Well, I think the best thing is you can be an example. You can be an example. For example, it's funny. I got 3 quarters in the mail today from someone other, and I said, I come in, Zane, here's 3 quarters. Some advertiser sent us. It ain't worth making a deposit for 3 quarters. I said, when you need the 3 quarters. But I said an example. In banking, I never use the company's postage. I don't worry about every little expense item. I mean, I buy one of our books online personally. It was a pre-order because I know internet, they're going to tell me if there's a release date change. I don't have to worry about getting in touch with the publisher if it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks later. And I do those things on my own. Nobody knows when I come in here and work on a Saturday or what I'm writing at home tonight. I just let the bottom line, the results. I let the results speak for themselves without having going around hard. Look at me, look at me, look at me. You'll be an example that someone can look up to. And I think, and it doesn't happen overnight. You don't make someone like you. You can't force that on them. All you can do is put an example and follow some basic things. I mean, people can handle corrections, but you don't lose your temper to corrections, and you don't correct them in front of other employees. I mean, you say, Alice, can I talk to you for about 5 minutes? And you get them in the office, and you congratulate them on what they're doing good and all, but said, I would like for you to do this when we get this correspondent, and rather than going out saying, what's the matter? You never answered that mail today. You got it, and so forth in front of other people there and embarrass them, and you can't make people like you. All you can do is put an example, and everybody's not meant to be a leader. I mean, everybody's not meant to be a leader. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to have some followers, but I think you can't be a good leader unless you've been a good follower and learn from other people.
Yeah, when I think about leadership, you have to lead up and down because you're stuck in the middle. Because you got to bring the people with you that are working with and for you on your team, but you're also leading and managing up. So you're kind of stuck in the middle. You're always answering to somebody, right? Even if you're at the top, you're going to be answering to somebody.
Well,
go ahead.
I started to say, I was young. They called me hot shot. I worked in the finance industry, $1.15 an hour. And we had yearly meetings, and they were about branch managers. And I was in Indianapolis, Indiana. Here I was, I had guys working for me, working with me twice my age. And I get called that meeting. And J.R. Husband was president, and I'm sitting way back there in the back. I mean, I'm just started attending. And he said, Mr. Green, Don Green, would you please come to the stage? My heart was just like that because I had to work a long way. I took speech in high school, but running a high school stage, that's different. It's like being 400 finance managers. And he told me what our results was where I worked, and he said, how did you do it? And what come to me is, I said, I didn't do it. We did. And I gave him an example. I said, I wasn't prepared for this because nobody told me I wanted to. We had a contest that ran about 6 months. Everybody got a catalog. It was CIT, the financial firm. And everybody got a catalog. And there were some products in there was for men, tools, different items, sports equipment, also things for ladies. household things, where it be a mixer or whatever. And it told you how many points each one of them items cost. And no money was involved. But they had set up a formula that the office got so many points for every new customer in other words, every new customer got, for growth in loan outstanding, who had the lowest past due percentage, whole bunch of categories. And they were put in there. This is a suggestion only. The tellers get X percentage. The loan officers get X percentage, which it added up to about 50%. And the branch manager gets the rest, which meant I was getting as much as all of them put together. I said, well, the first thing you do, y'all take the catalog home and decide what you want, because we're going to win it. We're going to win it. And how we're going to do it is, I'm not going to get no more than you do. We're going to split it. I'm counting across. There were 7 or 8 of us. We're going to split those points equally. Everybody's going to have the same opportunity. And I'll tell you why. I said, you got 4 tellers across through there. And if there's a customer comes in to make a payment on Friday or cash a paycheck, you get their account card out and you see it's got a red star on it, and you don't tell them people they're eligible to borrow more money, then every society, they're going to punch you because you're losing points. I said, we'll all work together on the thing. And we overwhelmingly won the thing. And it seemed to me just like it just seemed to me to be the thing to do, because if it wouldn't participate, I could imagine them saying, well, he thinks he's going to do so good, he's going to get it, I'll let him go ahead. But we were all in it together, and that's the same way with a budget. I sat down and did a budget towards the end of the year, and I make projections, and I could say, Christy, you're going to bring in 5 new customers a month. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then you may agree with him, you may say, boy, he's a good, what's he going to do? But I wouldn't. I would get everybody together and I say, Christy, we're working on new development. How many new customers do you think you could bring in a month? I would say 9 times out of 10, or maybe a lot more than that, you would project a number higher than what I would assign to you. But see, now you've bought into it. You're part of the solution. You ain't part of the problem. You're part of the solution. And to me, it just seemed like common sense. But I also have read, even then I was an avid reader and I read a lot. And I tried to, when I saw an example that it seemed to work, I tried to learn from it. But and that's the way I've always worked, and that's the way I do today. Is I give the people I work with time off to take care of their bonus. They get more than what they get, I'm sure what they would expect, and that's the reason they don't leave. And I do think Zane's got 2 little girls. One of them's 4 and one of them's 2, and her mother's a nurse, but she's not close by. I mean, she's like 30 minutes. So sometimes they let school out bad because of a storm or something. And I said, Zane, Haley and Catherine's a little girl's name. Anytime you need to bring them in your areas, put them in your office and give them some pencil and crayon. I said, they won't bother me none. And the other day, the one's 4 was in here. They canceled school. And she's 4 years old now. And she drew the prettiest Christmas tree and some wreaths and stuff in green crayons that she had and so forth. And she comes running back her to me. She showed me, and she put Dawn on it. And now she's only 4 years old. And so I told Zane the next day, I said, you need to put that up on my door there where people could see that Catherine's artwork. And I just try to be good to people. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I have a card on my desk where every morning I'm either eating oatmeal or scrambled eggs. Most times oatmeal. And the card's real simple. It's a 3x5 index card. It says, God, show me someone I can help today. In Jesus' name, amen. And before I leave this office today, I'm going to send somebody a prisoner book. I'm going to send Christy a book, or somebody's name's going to pop in my head, and I'm going to send them something. Expect nothing in return. If someone acknowledges it, thanks me or promotes it, that's fine. If they don't, I did my part. I put it in I put a little autograph sticker on it and sign it inside and see it gets mailed. And thinking it may not be much, but it might be much to somebody. I'm trying to show that I care.
I got one last question for you. At 85, your mind is so sharp. I need to know your routine, Mr. Green. I got like, I want to be writing books. And I mean, because you probably put together what 6 to 10 books a year with Napoleon Hill. It's a lot. And I appreciate when you send me all of them. It's great. So what's your secret sauce to living a great life and being 85 and being in great shape and still having your mind together? I need the secret, sir.
Well, the first off, I try to not let no thoughts of negativities enter my mind to dwell on. If something is wrong, I'm trying to look and see what advantage I can make something from it rather than dwell on it. I had a little girl. This is a long time ago. I'll never forget it. I pulled out in front of her. Okay, I put plain and simple. But there wasn't a lot of room, and she was driving fast, and it was around the bank that I was president of. She went by, she gave me a bird. And now, normally you could have followed her to the shopping center and cussed her out or whatever. And I thought, honey, you must be having a bad day. And I let it go. But I try to dwell on those things. That I walk 2 miles every day. I used to walk 5, but the doctor says at my age, a couple cause of arthritis or other things, just see what you get into. And I looked at my thing. Last year, I averaged 2.3 miles per day. And I make sure if it's 10 o'clock when I get home at night, I'll look, and if I've only walked a mile and a half, I'll walk another half a mile because I'm not going to get into bed till I walk 2 miles. But I don't eat. I'm not telling people what to eat and what not to eat, but I don't eat fried food. Okay. If I eat fish and chicken, it's grilled, or I don't eat the stuff fried. I eat oatmeal and berries, and the doctors tell me the best 2 foods in the world is salmon. I mean just grilled salmon, or and blueberries. I try to eat the fruits and vegetables. I eat a vegetable tray. The stores do a vegetable tray. It's about this round. It's got little carrots, asparagus, broccoli, them small tomatoes, and celery sticks. And I use light range dressing. And I'll go through one of them about every 3 or 4 days. In other words, I may eat a thing of soup, or I might eat a piece of salmon or whatever. But then I'll eat some of the vegetables every evening for supper. And I just try to watch. I don't eat white bread. I don't have potato chips. I don't have candy bars. The list is on and on. But it's not hard, really. It's not hard, really. I mean, like, there's no sugar in the house. Okay, you don't need no sugar. You don't need no salt. You get enough salt in your food already. And I don't eat processed food either because it's loaded with sodium. But there's no salt or sugar in the house. I eat oatmeal, steel cut oats, and they got no sugar in them. And I add a half a spoon of cinnamon and some nuts, walnuts, or preferably black walnuts. And I eat a cup of sugar-free yogurt because to get my proteins. And it may be pretty dull to most people, but it's not to me. And I weigh every morning. I weighed 154 pounds this morning. And when I was starting in college, I think I weighed 268 pounds. But I've not weighed nothing like that in a long, long time.
Definitely haven't seen those pictures.
Yeah, and Chris, they ain't no 100-year-old fat man. And it all comes down to how bad do you want it. And I wanted to lead a decent life, and just eating's not it. There's more than just eating.
No, I think that vegetable tray, you going through it every 3-4 days, that's actually phenomenal. A great idea, because you're not measuring it, but you're measuring it. Like, you're making sure you get like all of the vegetables because you have them on a tray. I love that.
Well, we have to take care of ourselves.
Definitely. So before we close, for people who, I hope that this interview has been useful. It's been useful to me. I hope that it's been useful to people to to be willing to get uncomfortable, to be willing to dream again, to be willing to have passion, to be willing to stop drifting and listening to, what other people say is going to be true for them, as opposed to creating their own truths. You listen to Mr. Green talk about failure and procrastination and a burning desire. What last thoughts do you have for people who, want to actually be better? Right? Like, I see some people who do want to be great and they do want to impact the world in greater ways. What's one or two things that they can do to achieve their goals?
Well, I think start off, it comes to my mind is negativity. Mark Twain, he said, don't walk away from negative people. He said, run from them, because we're influenced by the people we hang around with. I've read studies that kids that grow up take up cigarettes, they're in a group of maybe 4 or 5, and 1 or 2 of them don't. And then they try it. Then first thing you know, they're all doing it. They want to fit in. They want to fit in. But is fitting in good for you or not? So maybe in your case, I'm sure that you have from friends that all does it, people who is jealous. Well, if you have people that's jealous of you, they're not much of a friend. You just need some new friends. They should be, if they were really good friends, they would think well for you, what you accomplished and what have you, and say, man, I'm proud of that little girl. I'm proud of you. I mean, I remember the first time I met you. I remember that. They talk about the good old days. We grew up without a bathroom in the house. I didn't know how to flush a commode when I was in 8th grade, because we didn't have a bathroom. But and I appreciate those things. But I said, there's 2 things I try to remember. And I told my mother, she said one time about all the time people was telling her about how much money I was making and so forth. I said, well, I don't know how they mowed, Mom. I said, I try to take care of my business. Everybody will take care of their own. But I said, 2 things I'll try to remember, and I hope I remember after the day I die is, one is I'm trying to remain humble, because I knew where my start got from. My dad worked in coal mines as a 14-year-old. Mother got married before she was 14. She was not pregnant, one of 16 kids. And I said, I try to remain humble because I know where my roots are. And also I remind myself daily to keep looking upward, because I know where I'm going.
No, that's so good. So when we met, this is after life had just wiped me out. And after life rolled me over the coals and I lost everything, that was the best and the worst time of my life. It was the best part of my life because I was able to pivot and then was introduced to my other self. I awakened to my greatest potential, and we're here where we are today. And I remember they said that you were going to be at this conference, and I'm already obsessed with outwitting the devil. So I waited at the door for you. They were like, oh, Mr. Green is coming. I waited, and I knew you were coming with the book. And so this is funny. I'm going to tell everybody my secret. So when you came to the door, I said, Mr. Green, I have your seat waiting for you. And I walked you to the front row, and then I sat right beside you and asked you a million questions. And because if you're super successful, you're also the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, I knew you had success game, and I was wide open. And when I saw you at lunch, I was like, Mr. Green, can I have lunch with you? I saw you at breakfast. I'm like, Mr. Green, can I have a breakfast with you? And so I appreciate, one, you taking me under your wing and sending me the books and, having these conversations and reading my emails, because as I was getting up after life mopped the floor with me, I appreciate you being a part of my network to see who I was and not who life made me. Like, you saw who I was and who I can be, and not the person that you met who was lost and confused because life mopped the floor with me, which is where a lot of people are today. So I appreciate you for who you are and, what you've done for me, the impact that you've not just had for me, but the impact you've had in my family and our generations, but then also the clients that I've served. And so, from my team to, and the clients that we've had, and from my family, we're grateful for you. I thank you so much.
Well, I love the stories, just like the stories of people who read Think and Grow Rich. We don't have time to tell all of them, but even at that event, I can't say his last name, but he's Hispanic, Carlos, Siqueira or something like that. He's out there everywhere. And I saw him that day. He was standing back to back, not sitting. He was standing back against the wall, and he was holding up "I Witness That One." He wanted me to sign that. He wanted me to sign that book. So I love those stories to think that maybe we had a little bit of positive influence. But it's just like you're solving the problems. You can't solve everybody's problems, but you can solve some of them. And the ones you do can make all the difference in the world. Because what that stuff is, we learn the material and it benefits us. If we learn the material good enough so they can help someone else, then that's even further. But if they can learn it to the degree that you do, that you can teach others how they can teach others, the world's our playground. There's no limits.
I agree. Thank you so much. So everyone, you don't have to hang up, Mr. Green, but everyone, thank you all so much for joining us for this Master Your Mindset in 2026. Mr. Green, thank you so much for showing up and sharing your insight. And we are done. Bye, y'all.